Hi everyone, I'm Miss Kleiner-Neff, and this year I'm helping with our efforts to increase diversity and understanding perspectives of others and our efforts in our compassionate advisory times by doing some book talks about unique books that talk about compassion and diversity. So this is my first book talk, and I'm glad that you've invited me into your classroom. If ever you'd like to come by my classroom, I teach in C Hall, I teach social studies, and I teach economics and government. You're always welcome to come by and take my class or talk about books. But my first book is Pigeon English by Stephen Kellman. It's his first novel that he ever wrote, and he wrote some screenplays, but he's never written another book. This book, though, was so good, it won the Booker Prize in 2011, which is a really big deal in the literature world. This book is really important to me because it reminds me of some students that I've met that have come from another country to the United States and couldn't speak English. In fact, one of my friends, Doug, who gave me permission to tell you this story, learned all of his English. He moved from South Korea, learned all of his English from 1990s rap. So there was a point when we had to discuss what was appropriate language and what wasn't for the classroom, but he had to learn to speak English somewhere. And what he also learned was a type of Pigeon English. In other words, it was slang and the mixture of his language, his native language, and English. And that's where this book's name comes from, Pigeon English, because a boy named Harrison Obaku has moved to England, to inner city England, or London, England, with his mom and his sister. His father is still in Ghana. Now, Harrison is 11 years old, and he's a really nice kid. But in inner city England, as in most big cities, there's a great deal of oppression and discrimination based upon where you've immigrated from. For instance, Harrison meets a Somali kid, and here's what he thinks about him at first. He said, Altaf, that's the Somali kid, is very quiet. Nobody really knows him. You're not supposed to talk to Somalis because they're pirates. Everybody agrees if you talk with them, you might give away a clue to where you keep your treasure, and the next thing you know, your wife has been strangled alive and they're throwing you to the sharks. Me and Altaf don't go to RE. Mama doesn't want me to hear about the false gods. She says it's a waste of time, and Altaf's mama thinks the same thing. Instead of doing RE, we go to the library. You're supposed to study, but normally we just read a book. It was me who started talking first. I just want to know what Altaf thinks. Would he rather be a robot or a human? And in this moment, we see Harrison trying to get past the images created by others about Altaf as a Somali. Now, inner city London is a really dangerous place. And not only has Harrison learned about discrimination, he's also learned that he has to protect himself. There's a gang in town, and because of his accent and the way he speaks English, and because he is an immigrant, they want to beat him up. So, Harrison says this. While Mama was in the shower, I got the tomato knife from the block. It was just a test. You had to be extra careful with the pointy end. I held it like an iron boy. I choked the air like it was an enemy. I put it in my trousers and I walked around with it and pretended like there was a war. I pretended like God forgot me so I could do all the bad war things and not even have to feel it. Me. There's a war. God has forgotten me. Papa's forgotten me. All the lights in the streets are broken and the wolves are chasing us. It's every man for himself. I only said that in my head. I had to put the knife back at the end. It was getting too hideous. It's too sharp. I kept waiting to cut my own leg. You can't keep a knife in your trousers all the time. You might forget it's there, and then you sit down, it will go through your leg and come out the other side. If a war starts, I'll just split instead. It's easier. I'm the best runner in the whole of year 7. Only Brett Shawcross can even catch me. And here we get to see Harrison thinking about running away because life has gotten so hard for him as an immigrant student. The end of this book is very tragic, but it does allow us to see the perspective of a person who is new to our community from a different culture. And maybe that if we had some compassion, we could help him be part of our community and celebrate the differences that are there. I invite you to read Pigeon English. You'll be happy that you did, because you'll understand someone better, and maybe we'll understand the people around us better as well.